Hey everybody, welcome to Muscular Development's 2020 Olympia preview. Joining me all the way from Leeds in the United Kingdom, I believe. Is that right, Giles? Giles Tiger Thomas. How are you, Giles?
Actually, how do I look?
Devastatingly handsome, as usual. I mean, what answer were you looking for?
Well, I'm running on about 4 hours sleep last night because I've been filming, editing, and watching for about 3 days straight. I'm absolutely exhausted, but I'm very, very happy. It all went to plan.
Yeah, I hope you guys got a chance to check out. I still haven't. I'm kind of busy too. The season finale of season 3 of MD Global Muscle. We're recording this on a Friday. It just posted today with Jamie the Giant as co-host. You had Steve Kuklo, Milo Sarshev, and Dennis James. Just pure gold. I can't wait to watch the whole thing. Also want to let you guys know, Giles and I, we're doing the preview right now for the men's divisions because we want to give plenty of coverage to the women. We're divvying it up so that the Buff Bombshells over there in the UK, they're going to be doing their own Olympia preview of all the women's divisions. This is going to post on Monday and tomorrow. I'm trying to think ahead in terms of time. So tomorrow you can see that it's going to be up with all the the Ms. Olympia, fitness, women's physique, figure, bikini, wellness. Not till next year, guys. Next year you got to wait. So Giles, man, let's get right into this, man, because this is quite an Olympia. But first of all, so sad you're not going to be there, man. How dare you? How dare you not defy the quarantine and sneak on a boat and get over here?
Well, I do remember when 2017 when you contacted me and you said because you thought I was going to be at that Olympia, you said, Giles, can you help me with the coverage? And I said, well, I'm not going to be there, mate. And then you messaged. I was on holiday in Cyprus, and you messaged me back and said, we really need you at the Olympia. Yeah. We didn't even have press passes, I think, but we still managed to knock it out of the park. And every single year we managed to outdo what we did every year, and I'm bummed, obviously, but to be honest, I kind of prepared myself for that. I wasn't like distressed, but I mean, I'm sad I can't be there, mate, but it's a strange year for everyone. Everyone's affected. And I'll be commenting from the live stream, and I'll be with you in spirit, Ron.
Okay, cool. So let's begin with 7-time champion, returning, trying to make it 8. See, I know you wanted to be there for this. Phil Heath, because you're actually a friend of Phil's. You actually did a UK gym tour, and I think you went to Spain for a couple stops too.
That was the tour we did with Brandon 6 months later. That was a European tour that we did, but we did an 8-day UK tour with Phil last summer. And it was probably one of the best experiences I've ever had in my 25 years in the industry working in the media. It was amazing. He's an amazing individual. I'm so glad I got to spend some time with him, really getting to know him very well, because he's a very, very interesting guy and a really good guy. And I'm proud to call him a friend.
Yeah, I was starting to worry after last year that if he didn't do it last year, well, maybe he's never going to come back. He might be just happy to have 7 Olympias like Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's doing other things. He's signing with the Danny Garcia companies. He's getting into acting, all kinds of stuff. So it would not have surprised me one bit if he never came back to competitive bodybuilding and never came back to the Olympia stage. But luckily for us fans, and if you're a fan of bodybuilding, whether you love Phil Heath or you hate Phil Heath, I don't know why you'd hate him, but you want him in the Olympia. It's a better Olympia with him in it. He's such a great champion, such a physique. Of course, all eyes are going to be on his midsection. But as I talked about in the interview with him, and I even talked about with Hani about a month before that, he would not come back, would not dare to come back on the Olympia stage if that wasn't resolved, if he couldn't be 100%. He's got his pride. He's a smart guy. He's very competitive. He would only come back to win. And yeah, I mean, I think he's got a heck of a shot, wouldn't you say?
Oh, 100%. You know what? It's funny because, I mean, he had a bit of a rough ride when he was Mr. Olympia. I think because the Generation Iron thing, I think, steered towards Kai Green being the underdog, and Phil, they portrayed it. And then I think you threw in the mix of social media and the fact that he was so far ahead of the game and so good, and he was almost like so cocky about it because it's like, oh, there was every reason to hate this guy because he was so bloody good. He was so impressive. And he was like so, I remember 2016 Olympia, and he was kind of being a bit lazy on his compulsory because it was almost like, I've just got this and I just know it. And I think the fans didn't like that. But I remember when he said I think it was when like the kind of heat was really getting a lot. There was a lot of people just firing at him constantly. And I remember him saying, he said, guys, he says, I thought it was a really cocky thing to say, but he said, you're gonna miss me when I'm gone. And you know what, Ron? That's exactly what happened. Look around. If you remember the turnaround from Jay Cutler from 2008 to 2009, I remember on the forum and people were photoshopping pictures of a fridge with Jay's head on it. And Jay had so much hate. And then he came back in 2009, did the foot stomp, came back and absolutely just blew everyone out of the water in a very impressive year, blew away Branch Warren, Dexter Jackson. And he kind of just, the swell of it, just the pendulum went from one extreme to the other. And I honestly, I think that happened to Phil even before he stepped on stage this year. People love him again. And I'm so, as a friend, as a fan, as a super fan of Phil Heath, I'm so happy to see, I get emotional. I feel emotional. So I'm so happy to see that, because I'm so glad to see him back. And honestly, I'll be honest, up till about 2 months before he said he was coming back, I would say I was as sure as I could be that he was 100% done. I didn't think he was coming back. So when we were editing in the editing room, obviously at the studio, and then Kalim, our producer, goes, Giles, look at this. And I remember just going, it was the side picture with the 8.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, he's doing it. My heart was going, and I was like, oh my God. It was, it's just, that kind of excitement is so rare, to that level, and just the swell of and the I can't even put it into words. The excitement this has brought to what has been such a horrible year for so many reasons, for so many people. I think it's just created a real kind of positive wave that I think is going to see. I think it's really going to benefit bodybuilding. It's going to benefit him, and I'm just, like I said, I'm just happy to see that he's coming back, and I'm just very happy.
Yeah, it's funny how you said you quoted what he said about how we'd miss him when he was gone, and it really didn't take long. Just 1 year without him on that stage, and I think even the people that for whatever reason didn't like him, they were like, "Oh, I want Phil back. Come on, Phil." And here he is. So we don't even have to go into his attributes. We know Phil's great. Phil's got so much going for him physique wise. And just to show people we're not totally biased just towards Phil, we love Brandon too. You did a tour with Brandon. You're good friends with Brandon. He's the reigning Mr. Olympia champion. He's very hungry to keep that title. He's been working very, very hard over in Kuwait with Abdullah, trying to bring a physique package that'll be able to beat even the great Phil Heath. And I don't think anybody's writing him off per se. It's tough going up against an icon like Phil, which at this point he's established himself with 7 Olympia titles. But Brandon, he's the reigning champ. You can never count the reigning champ out. Where do you see them stacking up against each other? Where do you think Brandon might actually be able to edge Phil out, maybe in some areas?
Okay, so you're very, very swung towards Phil taking this quite comfortably. Okay, to counteract that, Brandon he's still got improvements he can make to his physique. He arguably won it, probably not even as good as condition as he won. Well, definitely not as good as he won when he won the Arnold Classic. Brandon still can improve from what he produced last year. The question is, can Phil get better than? I spoke to Ronnie Coleman last night about this, and I said, Ronnie, is Phil going to be as is Phil going to be as good, not as good, or better than he's ever been before? And Ronnie kind of said, well, I think he's going to be about 90% of what he was, So, but he said maybe that's still good enough to win. So the question is, are we going to see are we going to see what Jay did in 2009 and see an all-time best Phil? And are we going to see? I think we know that Brandon's going to bring better condition this year. Yeah. The big question is, from something that's been kind of lighting up Instagram and the social media today, that video that he posted, that's been posted from Abdullah's Snapchat, I believe, which the other guy, Nick, posted. Do you know or think that is recent or old?
You never know with these videos. I mean, that happened with Ramy so many times, where somebody posts a picture of Ramy in the locker room, and someone was able to show that was actually posted 3 years ago or something. They had the screenshot and they could prove it. Yeah, this guy had a blue shirt on. The soap container was right there. You never know, but I don't know. I mean, it doesn't even matter, because how somebody looks in the gym, posing and everything, as you know, it doesn't translate 100% to what we're going to see on the stage. A lot of times with some of these guys, they surprise you and you're like, wow, I didn't see, a lot of people, the full impact of the physique, you don't really appreciate it until they're up on that stage with the lights, in the trunks, the oil, everything's the way it's supposed to be, versus all pumped up after working chest at the gym in the locker room with the light right there and but as far as what Brandon has over Phil, I actually like his structure a little bit better. If you just saw silhouettes, I would probably go with Brandon, even though Phil's got him on the legs, let's be honest. But overall, he's got such a beautiful structure, beautiful shape. He reminds me of like a fuller Chris Cormier in some ways. The real wide clavicles, the squared off shoulders, a taper. It's not going to be easy for him to beat Phil Heath, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Where do you think he could pull it off if Phil comes back looking, let's say, as good as he was 2016, 2017?
If Brandon is more balanced and he's conditioned, which I believe he will be conditioned. I'm not sure about the balance because I don't know. And if that video is recent, the waist looks tiny. The waist looks absolutely. I mean, that's where I was like straight away. Oh my God, look how small his waist looks. But you know what? When we had Jamie the Giant on Global Muscle season finale, he said, because I said, mate, you look so much, said to Jamie, I said, you look so much better on stage than you did in your progress pictures. I said, most guys, 99 times out of 100, it's the other way around. And he says, do you know why? He says, because I do my pictures in the morning when I'm flat. And I look, that's when I look my kind of smallest and worst, my flattest. So most of these guys, like you said, they will take pictures after they've trained, so they're pumped and full. And that was Brandon, very, very flat. So, but he was sharp. The waist was small. So I'm kind of, in some ways, I'm kind of hoping that it is a recent video, because if he can fill that out and keep that waist and stomach nice and tight, which no doubt I think he will, I think you're going to see a very, very impressive version of Brandon. To me, he looks more polished. He looks more. I just like the skin tone and the separation and the condition. I think we're seeing like separation and quality, certainly in his upper body, especially with that chest training video. He looked very dry, because a few weeks ago I noticed his lower pec line was not sharp. And I know this sounds like a real nitpicky thing, but I would want my pec line to be razor sharp from about 4 weeks out, not 2 weeks out, and not be razor sharp. I was concerned. So when I saw that training video, you could see the skin was thin. There was no fat. There was very little water. I was seeing more detail. I just hope that we also see that in his lower body, because his legs are good from the side. They're good from the front, but they're weak from the back. But the main thing is, next to Phil, his legs have to be separated or he's done. Otherwise, Phil will take him out, regardless of, V tapers and all this. Another thing is, Brandon's actually got Milos pointed out in Globe Muscle. He pointed out that Brandon has a wider back, but obviously Phil has that knockout rear double bicep. That's the lights out pose, like Ronnie Coleman. That's the pose that really, that's the one that takes everyone apart. That's the one that gets the crowd going. We've all been at the Olympias when he hits that rear double bicep, the crowd goes crazy.
Yeah, I mean, his glutes insert halfway down his hamstrings.
Oh,
just crazy, gnarly detail and everything. So we don't want to make it like a two-man show. It's not a two-man show. We got some excellent guys up there also. We can't leave out William Bonac. He was a runner-up last year. He just won the Arnold Classic before the world went to hell earlier this year. Right, the very weekend it went to hell. William, I don't think there's been a lot of talk about William, but I think it's just because people were so excited about Phil, and Ramy in any show always gets so much hype because he's Ramy. But Bonac is no slouch. I'm sure he's going to be fighting these guys tooth and nail.
I think he could win. I honestly think he could win. Somebody just says, because Milos pulled me on saying that, Dennis James on Global, he's pointed out that, because I said William's a dark horse. He said, Giles, what do you mean Dennis James says, Giles, what do you mean a dark horse? He was second last year. He won the Arnold Classic. And I said, no, he's a dark horse in that no one's talking about him. Like you said, it's all Phil Brandon. Oh, what if Ramy comes in condition? It's like Kamal. Like last year, no one was talking about him as a threat to the Olympia. They're still not talking about, a lot of people. It's like, this is ridiculous. This guy's the champion. Is it because he's, I don't know. Maybe it's to do they're not American, or they're not as on social media as much.
That's what it is.
I think Williams the one that could make this not a two-person show, because I think I mean, just say Phil comes back at 85% of his best, or things aren't popping, maybe like they weren't in 2018 when he lost to Sean.
Yeah.
Or and if Brandon doesn't look, any different, or he doesn't even look as good as last year, then I'm telling you, William could sneak past and win this because his quality, his conditioning, his separation. He's only got 1 weak pose. That's the front lat spread. Everything else, rear poses, side poses, he's deadly. And I feel bad for him that he's not getting more respect and not more talk. Yeah. But like you said, I think people are just so excited to see Phil come back. I think they're so excited to see two Mr. Olympias next to each other, Phil and Brandon. Right. I think definitely William's name should be talked a lot more as not just a potential top three, but a potential winner.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was second place last year. Come on.
Crazy. I mean, did you see how the Arnold Classic? I mean, he beat Dexter and he beat Ramy. And he comfortably as well.
Right. So Ramy, we got to talk about Ramy because you never know with Ramy. You never know which Ramy you're going to get. He's been a little lighter. He's been a little heavier. He was 300 pounds exactly, I believe, at the Arnold Classic. Yeah, I believe, which, I know it's not a number. If they were just going by body weight, that'd be easy enough to win the show, wouldn't it? But he's working with Chad Nichols now, trying to get that extra level of condition, separation, graininess that I've been waiting a long, long time to see. We've seen glimpses of it. It's 2017 when he took second to Phil. He looked really good. I was there at New York Pro in 2013, his first pro show. That was pretty. I hate to say that's the best I've ever seen him because it was 7 years ago. It sounds bad to say that, but I'd like to see that Ramy again.
How many? Sorry to interrupt here. How many times have you heard people say that the best version of Ramy and the best version of Roelly was at the start of their career when they won the New York Pro?
Many times.
30 pounds lighter.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if he was 30 pounds lighter, but he was definitely a little more streamlined. Yeah. His quads have always been crazy, but they weren't. They're overdeveloped now. I'd like to see him downsize them somehow just a little bit because they distract. I never thought, because Tom Platz was one of my idols. I never thought I would ever say someone's legs are too big, but for Ramy, I think they're too big. They distract from the overall lines and flow of the physique. He would look better to me if they were just a little bit downsized, and everything would just flow better for me.
Well, for Ramy, I think when I saw him in the Arnold Classic, just forget about conditioning. His physique was better because he's brought his calves up, he's brought his hamstrings up, his glutes, which kind of like his best shots, like his rear double bicep, his rear lat spread, side tricep, side chest. But in those rear shots, like his back and everything was impressive, but the lower body was a bit like you broke Brandon. There was a little bit of there was some bits missing, but he's got those bits now. I just hope. The thing with Ramy is, like, the difference between the judging and the night show at the 2018 Olympia. I mean, he was clearly out of the top 6 at the judging at the 2018. Yeah. At the night show, I've never seen anyone change so much in 24 hours. I mean, we all know how they can change. That's irrelevant. But to see how much he could improve in 24 hours, I just hope, and he did the same again at the Arnold Classic. I thought at the night show, I had him clear second at the night show at the Arnold Classic. I had him ahead of Dexter. But I just hope he doesn't come in. I'd rather see him better for the prejudging because, like you said, that's when it really counts. At the Olympia, that is when it counts. So he's got. I don't want to see him come in like, and then him pull it round for the night show, and then by then the judges have, they've made their top 5. They've decided, But Ramy, oh God, I just hope he's in condition. I just hope he's. Like you said, it's that conditioning. He must be driven crazy about all the and I hope his shoulders look a bit more because that's it is distracting. It's distracting, and he doesn't need it because even without that extra enhancement, those shoulders are absolutely. He's still the biggest thing on stage. He's still twice as big as everybody else. I think the last couple of years they started to realize it's not about boasting about how much he weighs on stage. It's about how he looks because. But I did see him win the 2017 Arnold Europe as well when he beat Bonac, and he was even better than he was for the Olympia, and he was and it was close then between him and Bonac. So I'm interested to see the rematch between William Bonac and Ramy. Personally, I think Bonac will take Ramy. I think he's more consistent. I think he's more of a safe bet. But Ramy, I don't think he'll be top 3. I think he could be. I think he'll be 4th place.
Okay, fair enough. Well, Dexter Jackson, another question mark because supposedly this is the last Olympia. Now I'm hearing rumors that he's thinking about not retiring, but which kind of I don't think he said anything official because they don't want to take the thunder away from this. This is supposed to be his last show and last Olympia, but I kind of hope it's the last one because I want to see him go out on top and with a really good placing against the very best. You know, a year with Phil up there and Brandon, all these guys. But you know, for a guy that just turned 51 years old, his physique has held up so well. You know, the only other person in our lifetime we can even compare that to is Albert Beckles, but Albert never won all those shows like Dexter did, and certainly wasn't Mr. Olympia and didn't win 5 Arnold Classics. Dexter, I think he still needs that one more win for the for 30 overall wins, doesn't he?
I'm not sure. Is it 29 he's got?
Yeah, he's been stuck at 29. He needs to get one more.
Well, there's nothing else left to win apart from the Olympia this year.
Yeah, he should have jumped into Romania or something. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I've been seeing the videos and pictures of him. He looks full, grainy, separated, like Dexter Jackson always is. Yeah, what do you think his chances are of top 3, top 4, top 5?
I think 5th, 6th place, I think, is more realistic. I think, and then that's an incredible achievement. I mean, I said to Ronnie last night, I said, Ronnie, can you believe we are now talking about a guy that you competed against when you won your second Olympia? 1999 was when he made his first, when he did his first Olympia, and he was 9th place. And every single year, when it's 9th, 7th, 4th, you know, and he won the. I mean, the thing is, what can we say about Dexter that we haven't said a million times before? He's so impressive. He's like, I saw a video, some motivation guy had edited, and he says, you know, who else is, you know, in other sports, who else is still at the top, because he is at the top of his game, top of the Arnold Classic, you know, he's 4th place at the Olympia last year, he's the top 5, top 3 in the world, top 5, top 6 in the world, you know. Could you ever imagine that in another sport? I mean, you saw Mike Tyson come back and it was like an exhibition fight, you know. It was you know, it was still impressive, but he's not going up against the I don't know. I can't think about the number one boxer.
I don't know. So let's say some 25-year-old champion.
Yeah, that's my point. That's my point. You know, so he's still just destroying these guys. And to be honest, I was absolutely blown away by how he looked at the Arnold Classic. I thought he absolutely phenomenal. That what he did with his legs to bring all the separation back and the fullness back. To me, it was one of the shocks of the Arnold Classic. So I think he'll be taking 5th or 6th, and that means he'll still be taking out some big names, you know, almost like half his age. So yeah, good on him. And I think it'll be emotional actually when we see him do his last final Olympia. You know, 51.
20th. This is his 20th Olympia appearance.
He missed one.
Wow. He missed one, yeah. So, but 20 that's got to be a record. I don't think anyone's done 20 Olympias. I mean, who else? No, nobody. Sorry, I can't think. There's no way.
A good pro career is like 10 years. You know, pro career, and that's probably 3 or 4 years to even get to the Olympia, maybe. You know. Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
First year.
Yeah, nobody's come close to that. So good job, Dexter, man. No matter what happens, it's crazy. What an inspiration. Roelly Winklaar. Now, you've been saying that you think Roelly looks a little bit downsized versus the Roelly that we're used to seeing, or usually I believe he competes, let's say he's about 260 on stage?
Do you remember the Arnold Classic last year when he got food poisoning and hurt his knee and everything? I remember he came out and then he won the Arnold Australia. He dropped 14 pounds and he won the Arnold Australia.
Right.
He was because he came out and he was way too big. He was 268 there, and then I believe he was 254, 255 when he won the Arnold Australia, and then his waist just came in. It came all off his waist seemingly, and everything just looked amazing. So I've got a feeling he's going to be around about 250 or less this year, which I think is a good thing. I'm kind of torn. I'm kind of thinking, is he behind? I heard he had rotator cuff surgery. Did he get back to? Because he was on that island. I forget the name of the island.
Curaçao.
No, it was another one where he was somewhere. He was stuck there for a few months. He was training, but you could see he wasn't training at full pelt, and he needs to be one of these guys because he's a maniac. But when he's in his right environment, that guy is full go. So I was thinking, did he get back to, was it up Kuwait or Dubai too late? Is he behind on his prep? Is he growing into the show rather than coming down? And I can't get a handle, apart from that one Most Muscular video, on how I can't get a gauge of how he's looking. So but then people are saying, well, if he's coming lighter, that's a good thing. Yeah. Maybe he was playing the size game too much. So I can't. I guess we'll find out next week whether it's whether it was a bad, whether it's a good thing that he's smaller, or whether it was just that mirror and he's just going to be as freaky as he ever has been.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest we ever saw him was when he had a gut. Let's be real. That's when he was just big, round, full, ridiculously big, and that's when his midsection was bloated. Yeah. He's so much better off with a streamline. Like when he got third place, 2018. That's one of the best looks I've ever seen on him. Yeah, for sure.
I think I said anything over 255 and his midsection goes thick. So if he's around 250, then, and you know, because when he took that 14 pounds off from the Arnold to the Arnold Australia, it just brought like so much size off his waist. Then everything else just looked full and crazy, and he absolutely walked it. You know, I mean, he beat Bonac. So yeah, I'm fingers crossed because I'm a huge Roelly fan, and I felt like really bad for him last year because it's such a disastrous year, especially after such a good 2018 by coming third at the Olympia, and then he won the Prague and he beat Nathan Diasha. So I just fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. Come on, Roelly.
Right on. I mean, look, trivia. First MD assignment you ever did was shooting a video over in was it Amsterdam or Rotterdam?
Rotterdam in 2011. Yeah,
one of those dams. Yeah. So it was him and Grandma back in the day. Woo, long time.
Yeah.
Next up, the pride of Persia, Hadi Choopan. Oh, they love this guy. Third place last year. So impressive. Built like a tank. I haven't seen any full body posing shots, but there was one that was posted today where he was showing his leg. It was ridiculously huge and grainy and separated. He had some of the best legs in the Olympia for sure last year. Overall, he was just obviously you don't get third place without having overall excellent physique. I think he's in the U.S. now. I mean, he better be here by now. But let's just assume he made it in the country okay and everything's good. It's a different lineup this year, but Hadi Choopan still deadly, still up there as far as battling out. I could see a call out with, I mean, our imaginary first call out. I could see Phil, Brandon, Bonac, Ramy, and Hadi. I could see that as the first call out. But then Dexter will be mad, and then who else will be mad? Roelly, yeah. But let's let you, all seven of you can be in that first call out. But I definitely see if he looks as good or better than last year, first call out and battling these guys for a top spot.
100%. I saw that leg shot, and to be honest, my eyes popped out on stalks, and I was thinking, is that a new shot? Or because I know he had the Hulk Hogan beard, but I think he's got rid of that now. Regarding the visa, I saw a picture of him holding a visa, but he wasn't in America. He was just holding it. Oh. So it created so much kind of drama and excitement last year and it was such an amazing story of how he got to America last year. And even at like 80%, let's be realistic. He was 80% of what he was at Vancouver. He still had some people saying he should have won the Olympia. There were still people. Milos had him winning last year. So just imagine if Hadi gets to the Olympia this year and he brings something as good as he had at Vancouver last year, or even better. Tell you what, I mean, maybe we need to stop talking about William Bonac. Maybe he could be the dark horse. I just think, honestly, he's another guy like William Bonac that people just. I think he's been forgotten about this year in the conversation. I think, but like you said, it's been overshadowed by Phil and Brandon. You know, that's all people are talking about. But there's nothing to stop Hadi beating both those guys. I mean, let's be realistic. He is, like, we've seen him in the flesh, and you've seen him in the flesh, not even at his best. And you were impressed at Olympia last year.
Oh, absolutely.
I saw him at San Marino, and we've all seen the pictures and video, the high-resolution video that Hector did at the Vancouver. And I'm telling you, that's a hard physique to beat. If he brings that to the Olympia next week, well, I'd be very surprised if he's out of the top three.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to the rest of the field. A lot of these guys are either newer to the Olympia or they've never been in the higher echelon, but you never know what can happen. First up, just because everyone loves him, Hunter Labrada. New York Pro, was it New York Pro that he won? No. Tampa Pro winner. I was there. I've been at all these shows. Tampa Pro winner, son of the legendary Lee Labrada. Obviously, Olympia debut. He's 28 years old. It's crazy just to see him up on that stage because, you know, I was fortunate enough to see, I only got to go to 2 Olympias that Lee was in. And then he retired. He was gone from the sport after that. But I'm excited to see him just because it's a legacy and it's exciting. Just like it was fun to see Sergio up there last year.
Yeah.
But as far as physique wise, how do you think he'll fare up against these? We've already got the top 5, top 7 locked down pretty much in the guys we were talking about. So now we're talking about maybe 6th through 10th, 7th through 10th, the battle for those spots as we go on.
For me, Ron, I mean, I said this on Global. I think I said to Milos with Jamie the Giant yesterday. I said, for me, there's kind of like 2 Olympias going on here. Mm. There's a tier 1 and a tier 2. Yeah. There's the guys you and I have just spoken about just there who are pretty much, unless they do something really stupid or something goes horribly wrong, that's pretty much the top 6 in any order. Yeah. In pretty much anyway. Right. But then you got the tier 2 guys who are the new guys like Hunter. And I think the general consensus from the people I've been speaking to with all the interviews I've been doing, they think that Hunter will be the kind of Mr. Olympia of the tier 2 guys. So he'll be the best of the newcomers. So, he could get 7th, maybe even get like a 6th. If, I don't know, say Dexter comes in off or Roelly's really off, Hunter could step over him. And, and if he gets 6th to 8th in his first Olympia and he's kind of regarded as the best of the new guys, that's a hell of a rookie year. That's really impressive. Yeah. That's really, really impressive. I think he looked good at Tampa, but I still think he can bring better. I think I don't think he for what we've seen in the progress pictures, I still think he could peak a little bit better. I think maybe he might look better a couple of days later or before, but I still think we're yet to see the best version of him, but how with the physique he has now. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of hype around this guy. He's delivered. He's won his pro debut. But I think 6th to 8th is a realistic achievement for Hunter, and what a first year as a rookie pro. Yeah.
Now another guy we're hoping does better at this year, because I think Ian Valliere from Canada has stepped up his game this year. Yeah, he won the New York Pro. He beat some really good guys, and I think he's figuring out that combination. He's working with Patrick Tour. He's really figuring out how to keep his fullness, which has been a problem for a lot of these big guys. It's tough for them. They go flat so easy. They require so many carbs and so much water, and once they lose some of that, it's just a dramatic, unfortunately, a bad effect on their physique. But I think he's figuring it out with the help of Patrick, and I think if he can bring a little better look than he did at the New York Pro, he's definitely going to be in the running for one of these 7th through 10th spots, because he looked fantastic. Was it 2018 when he took? It was like 11th, 12th.
Yeah, he was. It was 11th, 13th, or 14th. I can't remember.
Yeah, so I think he was 3rd. I think he was 14th. But we both had him up higher than he was placed.
He was. I mean, when you had the guys that didn't make the top 10, he looked like he didn't belong there. It's like, hang on a minute, why isn't this guy in the top 6? Yeah. He looks absolutely phenomenal. And he's been kind of chasing that look ever since. And then he finally got it right at the New York Pro. And I think there's something to be said for having a big win going into a show like the Olympia, when you're yet to really break through. You're getting 3rds and 4ths in smaller shows, and then you go and win a big show like the New York Pro. I think there's something about the level of confidence it gives you and the momentum to really fight and stay on your diet and train hard to really bring your best for the Olympia. So, and I think I don't think he's even lost like 5% condition in any of the time since the New York Pro. So he is hell bent. I've got 8th place in my head. And when I interviewed him for Global, he said he wanted to make top 10. He said top 10 was his next step up for him, and he will be very happy with that. I think I'm interested to see him go up against Justin Rodriguez. I think that's going to be an interesting battle between those two.
Oh, Justin's out. He's out.
No.
Yeah. He posted he's not doing it. Yeah, we didn't talk about we had Flex Lewis was supposed to be in the show. We had Nathan Asha, Cedric McMillan was supposed to be in the Open. Yeah, he's gone, dude. Sorry.
So when was that announced?
On his Instagram, maybe 3 days ago. Yeah, I probably should have told you.
I'm sure I saw a couple of days ago that he was doing it.
Well, let's assume he's doing it and talk about him.
No, because I honestly think he is. I think he is, because he was. Okay. AJ Sims sent me a picture a few days ago, and he's looking really, really good.
Okay, all right, then I take it all back. Maybe I misconstrued post.
He's got a bit of a hokey cokey, because he was in, then he was out, then he's in again.
Interesting. Well, let's assume he's in. What do you think?
I would put him ahead of Hunter and Ian Valliere.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm thinking, man, how did I screw that one up? I screw a lot of things up. Okay. Yeah. I see
him against Hakeem again as well.
Yeah, that was quite a battle with those two. Let me tell you, that they worked. Weinberger worked those two to the bone at the end just to see who would collapse first. But yeah, Justin, very impressive. She's that front double bicep of his is crazy, crazy shot. Condition, he's got it all figured out. Juan Morel is in the show. We kind of the thing with these post Olympia shows, we qualify for the year after. If these guys do that and then you don't hear from them until the next year's Olympia, they really kind of fade from your memory. Like, oh yeah, Juan's in the show. I forgot all about him. But I stay in touch. I keep track of Juan just because of the cookies. Him and his wife have this.
I've
You
got
aware
some.
of it? Have
I've
you
got some,
you got some?
yeah, I've got some in the freezer. Yeah,
Oh wow, they shipped them all the way to you guys. Wow,
yeah, yeah.
my cookie dealer, delicious guys. Things are like
I got it within 2 days as well. 2 days
wow.
from New York.
Yeah, I mean, Juan obviously big guy, wide frame, crazy shoulders, back, arms, tiny waist, always brings a condition. I hate to do this, but yeah, I've always wanted to see a little more quad sweep on him. I know that's a genetic thing where not everyone's blessed with those really sweeping quads, but just like I feel I wish Ramy could take some of his quads and give them to Juan Morel, and then they both be better off. But
Yeah.
Juan's been knocking on. I don't think he's ever been top 10. He might have been 10th one time. He always seems to be like 10th, 11th, 12th, somewhere in that area. I'd love to see him move up. He's a great guy, and he's been at this working hard a long time.
I think I just want to see him look better than last year because the last year's Olympia, I think he just overdid everything. I think he was so desperate to kind of just nail it. And I think he overkilled it and he came out and his body was like flat and lifeless. And then he kind of relaxed a little bit and just kind of filled out. Remember, was it Korea? I think he competed against Nathan Diasha. I think it was Korea, the Monster Zim show.
Japan. There's so many of those shows. They were all over the place. Korea, Japan. It was one of those.
It was a post-Olympia show. I think it's where he qualified. And he looked like 15, 20 pounds heavier with the same conditioning. And he just looks so much better, fuller, because he's a big guy and you can't see. So it's like if Akeem comes in flat, he looks soft and unimpressive and just lifeless. So someone like him, if he has to, somebody with that much size, it's horrible seeing guys like that flat because they don't suit being flat, because they don't have the kind of the lines and the flow to cut. So they've just got to come in as big and freaky as possible. But I'd like to see him come in like he did for I think it was the Korea show, the end of last year, the post Olympia last year. So I just hope he doesn't overdo it like he did last year.
Fair enough. And then we got Max Charles, he's done a lot of shows this year, Max. And I've been at most of them. I didn't go to the one in Las Vegas, but I saw him. Chicago, Tampa, New York. He's been very consistent this year. He's been bringing a really good condition. He's been working with Milos, obviously. Milos seems to have a really good handle on Max's physique. Another big, wide guy. Another one. I'd like to see more quad sweep on him too. We want everyone to be perfect. Obviously, everyone's got something that they could bring up a little bit, or there's no perfect physique that exists in this world, only in Marvel comics and DC comics. But Max, yeah, you would know all about that. But Max is another guy who's never really been in those top call outs at a show like this before, and I know he'd love to be.
If Max brings what he brought to the Arnold Classic, then I take it back. He could be the top of the tier 2 guys because, he looked fantastic at the New York Pro, and I know he was 5th place, but some people had him 3rd, 4th, 2nd, maybe some had it. I know some on the, I've seen people say he should have won it. I don't know whether he should have won the New York Pro. I think he was, but if he brought to the the Arnold Classic back in March, when he walked out, I wasn't expecting that from him. When I walked out when he walked, the fullness and the detail and the striations and the abs and the vascularity and the skin was going to tear.
Yeah.
I was just to see a bodybuilder like that, with the second tier guys, absolutely bringing the best version of them in terms of conditioning and fullness and everything. When they peaked perfectly, I can imagine Milos just losing his mind in the hotel room a few hours before, going, oh my God, I hope you just please don't lose this by the time you get to the stage. I think if he brings that, because he looked terrible at last year's Olympia. He really didn't look very good. And he was on Global and he admitted that.
Yeah.
So if he brings, I just want to see him as good as he was at the Arnold Classic, because that, you cannot peak any better than that. And if he's made improvements to his physique in the meantime, then he could be 6th to 9th.
Well, he trained for most of the shows this year in someone's basement or something. So I can imagine being able to train at a real gym for this show could only have helped him.
Very
Let's move on to the young Canadians, shall we? So we've got Regan Grimes, who just won. Did he just win? Help me out here, Giles. Did he just win a show?
UK show. No, sorry.
He was second at the UK show, wasn't he?
Second at UK show, and then he Alicante. What am I thinking?
Didn't James win that too?
Alicante, British Grand Prix, and there was the one after.
Romania?
Romania. Sorry, he just won Romania.
Yeah, he won Romania, right? Yeah.
He won Romania. Sorry, I had a bit of a brain fog there. Yeah, he won Romania. I think personally it's the best I've seen him for that one. He said I was 4 weeks before the Olympia. So still, we always want to see just that little bit more conditioning and fullness. But, you know, he's 27 now? 27?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I'd like to see him 5% better than when he won Romania. If he does that, then he's going to have a good showing. I don't think he'll be top 10. I think he's still a work in progress. I think he's got a beautiful structure. He's tall, wide. You know, he's he's still for the Olympia. Better, or even as good as he did at Romania, actually. But I would like to see him a few percent better, and then see how he, comes back next year. I'm just glad he left that awful classic, because he just did not look good in classic. It was so ridiculous. He did not suit classic.
Yeah, I don't believe we've seen the best of him yet. He's getting better and better every year. I think
he's on his way.
He's on the way. This is like 80% of the full version we're going to see. I think, if that, maybe 75%.
He's got potential. That's the way. He's got potential.
So Antoine Vaillant, man, this guy really leveled up this year. He hadn't done many pro shows. Obviously, he's had his troubles and everything, but he came back this year strong, bigger, rounder, fuller. He won his first show was the Vegas show. Yeah. The Cali Pro. It's hard to keep everything straight because they'll be named one thing, but they'll actually take place in some other place. So it was the Cali Pro in Las Vegas that he won. He beat Max out for that one. And man, Antoine seems to really be coming into his own this year. He's putting it all together. I think last year would have been that year, but he tore his bicep. But I love stories where somebody comes from, he was literally in the gutter a few years back, almost died. Could have been like so many other people that just faded away into the oblivion in the sport that had potential. Like, oh, it's too bad. But man, he's now HD supplements. They're in full support. He's got the Dorian coaching him, not Dorian Yates, Dorian Hamilton, different Dorian. And I'm very impressed with Antoine. I don't know how he's going to do in this lineup, but man, he's going to put on a show for us. He's a very enthusiastic poser. Got some of the best legs in the sport right now. They're crazy. Some of the best delts. I don't know where he's going to place. I think a top 10 might be a stretch, but I wouldn't rule it out.
I think Antoine 10th to 12th, but you know what? I am such an Antoine fanboy. I love this guy. I love his social media. I love his humor. I love his insights. I think his physique is incredible. He went from 7th to 1st in one week, wasn't it? It was New York Pro to the Cali Pro, went from 7th to 1st, jumped over those guys because he was flat for the New York Pro, and then what did he say? He had 1,000 grams of carbs a day for 5 days.
Yeah, I think it was like 50. We made a mini video out of it. It was like 5,500 grams of carbs in 5 days or something.
Yeah, and obviously because his chest and back goes very flat very fast, so he has to really fill it out to peak beautifully. But like you said, I just love the guy. I think he's such a like, I know I shouldn't really say about social media, but the way he because he started writing now and he does these funny videos, and he's such a positive. He's got a story. I think to me, he's one of my favorite. I think if I did with him in season 1 of Glow Muscle, I think that is one of. I would say at a push, that was my all-time favorite of all the episodes I've ever done. I think that was the one that I really resonated with, because we'd had similar issues, in the past. And I'm just rooting for the guy. I would love to see him. I'd love to see him. I think 9th to 12th. I think that would be good. I think, but like I said, I think it's just good to see him up there. I think he's going to bring a lot of.
He's so much enthusiasm. It's
happy.
he's got a lot of personality. It's
I love the guy. I love him.
People like to knock these guys today, say they're boring, they have no personality, you can't even tell them apart. They all look the same, they all sound the same. Not Antoine. Very, very unique individual. Okay, last guy in the open we'll talk about, Big Akeem Williams. He's coming off a win. He's coming in with some good momentum from winning the Chicago Pro, which was actually in Atlanta, Georgia, but this is 2020. What a ridiculous year this is. Do you believe this has all been in 9 months? This is like the longest year of our lives, man. It feels like 3 or 4 years have passed, hasn't it?
Well, the last time I saw you was at the Arnold Classic 4 years ago in March.
Yeah, it feels like it. Jeez, feels like it's been that long. But
Yeah.
Akim, like we've talked about before, and you were one of the ones who really tracked this guy's progress over the past couple of years, where he's finally figured things out. I thought he was going to be one of those guys who would just never put it together. He's huge. He's got great shape and structure, but he's just never going to. He always had a little bit of softness here and there. And yeah, he's figured it out, and he's big. He's got great shape, and he's coming in shredded. So, like a 10th place for him here is not out of the question.
10th, well, he's going for top 6. He says he wants top 6. I think with Akim, like if you look at the judging, at the Chicago, I had Justin Rodriguez winning it, but then he came back to the night show, and it was like he did a Ramy, but he did it in a few hours. Yeah. I was like Derek Lunsford did it the 212 last year between the pre-judging and the night show. I was like, how the hell did he change his body so much? And I said to him when I interviewed him, and he says no, I had 5 between the judging and night show in the same day. He said I had 500 grams of carbs and a pizza. I mean, if you put the pictures side by side, he put them on his Instagram side by side, and it looks like, I wouldn't say weeks, but it was certainly I mean, you could argue it would look like 2 weeks apart, and you believe it, not several hours. So there's a guy that needs to be full to look conditioned, or he just looks squishy and kind of just not conditioned. But like last year's Olympia when he got 9th, that was when he really leveled up his condition. And I was just like when Steve Cookler did the Arnold Classic 2 years ago and finally got 6th, he turned to the back. I was like, yes, finally he's got the detail. So like I hope to see that with like guys like Ramy, where we just like, yes, he's finally detailed, he's finally shredded. So yeah, I just but Akim, I really, I still like to see more detail based upon what I saw at Chicago.
Right. Yeah. Like I said, we're nitpicky, but we're just like the athletes are always chasing perfection.
Yeah.
We always see something. If it could be a little bit better, they'd be even better than they are. And we're talking about the best physiques in the world, guys. So of course it's very nitpicking when we say, I want to see a little more detail in his rhomboid or something like that. But anyway, let's move.
Definitely moving forward.
212 division, reigning champion, UK by way of Libya, Kamal El Gardni, 49 years old. You knew all about this guy. I just had to do a ton of research on him because he's got a feature coming up in the what issue is this, guys? The February MD. That's how far ahead we do these things, which comes out in January. But man, you were so right about this guy at the Arnold Classic a couple of years ago when you said, mate, this guy is gonna just. You have no idea what he's going to bring to the stage. You're like, yeah, whatever. So some other British, you're always hyping up these British guys. But yeah, he brought it. And last year, I've taken a lot of heat for saying I thought maybe Lunsford was going to take it, and people saying you're on crack, Ron, which I swear I was not on crack. There was no crack available. But he really has a polished, refined look that very few people in any division can bring to that stage because man, he's been competing for something like 25 years. He's won everything that there was to win in the IFBB Amateur League over and over and over again. The World Championships, Asian Championships, just everything, European Championships. And talk about a seasoned and mature physique. That's where he gets these guys. He's not the biggest guy up there. He doesn't have the prettiest shape, but it's an overall package. That's how these things are judged. And Kamal just brings the best of everything in one package to overwhelm everybody. And he's bigger now. Has he shared pictures with you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. If he sent them to me, obviously he would have sent them to you too. So man, he's bigger. He's going to be probably right at 212. It's going to be hard for him to make 212. So that's up a full 5 pounds from last year on a frame like that. Wow.
Yeah. He was 208 last year's Olympia. But he's been the best thing for him was getting out to Florida early. He went by way of Turkey in September, and he said, we both interviewed him, and he told us how you could see, because I've been speaking to Flex Lewis a lot. We're all Team Kamal, we're supportive, we're all friends, Yeah. And he's like, he's been setting up photo shoots for him, and he's been making sure he's in the zone, and he says, there's no distraction. He said he's just he's in a really little strict routine with his friends, and he's very positive, very supportive. John De La Rosa, Raphael was when he was there, I think. I'm not sure he was there. Yeah. But, they're just, and there's no people in the gym. They train when the gym's shut. It's a private facility, so, and he just seems to, he said he's thrived, and he kind of feels like he's finally been able to be the Olympia champion. And I think he's feeling confident. And, but one thing you can guarantee, he'll always be shredded. He'll always be in condition. Yeah. He's classic. He's got a classic physique. He's a beautiful poser. I mean, last year for me, when he was in that lineup, it was the midsection. That, like the intercostals, everything was so tight, and your eyes are drawn to it. The lines and the aesthetics and the way he presents himself. So, I mean, like you said, he's the defending champion, and he's just incredible. So, and he's got some really good poses, like the readable bicep. Kind of looks good in every single compulsory pose, Yeah.
He looks the best to me in like the optional poses, because he comes up with some of those really artistic classic look, something where they would say your favorite classic pose, but they don't do that in 212. But yeah, beautiful shape and structure. So, but Derek Lunsford has been the runner-up the last 2 years in a row. Now, I like Derek. The things I like better about Derek's physique, just the size. He's bigger. He's fuller. He's got rounder muscles and structure. Yeah. Like if you looked at the silhouettes, if you weren't seeing anything else, I think you would pick Derek, no question. But obviously, we're not looking at silhouettes. We're looking at three-dimensional, fully lit physiques. What does Derek need to do? What he's bigger. I know he's bigger. I've seen him a few times over recent months. The kid's great, but what does he need to do to get past the Kamal El-Garni?
Well, last year, I felt like he needed more quad width from the front. He needed more calves. For the last few months, he's got those now. He's got them. And the only thing, it's like Ramy. If he's got the condition, I think Kamal's in trouble. If he nails his condition, I'm telling you, Kamal is going to have a fight on his hands. He really is. In fact, I think he's the biggest threat right now. I think some people are just because his condition wasn't right last year, and it wasn't conditionally right the year before. Some people think that Kamal should have beat Derek in 2018 when Kamal took third. I mean, I had Kamal beating him that year as well. But if he nails his conditioning, I think Kamal's in trouble.
Yeah, I mean they're both. When we're talking about the first and second place in the world, guys, come on. Obviously, you could go, and they're very different looks. Very different looks. Yeah, the proverbial apple structure. Yeah, better structure. He's bigger. It's just, Kamal kills him on condition and detail. Yeah. So if Derek brings that, geez, guy, I wouldn't want to be a judge. But we can't leave out, and God knows I would never leave this guy, Sean Clarida. Sean Clarida, a lot of people had him he was third place last year. A lot of people had him beating Derek. Some people even thought he was good enough to win last year. Very impressive. Obviously, he's climbed up the ladder every year. The placings go up and up. He started out competing at like 130 pounds. He's about 170 now. And he's, he says 5'2". Let's just agree with him. But man, it's built like a brick shit house. So thick, so dense and round. He is like a mini Ronnie Coleman.
Beat me to it. I was just exactly what I was waiting.
I think you were the first, I believe you were the first person to say that a couple of years ago. Mini Ronnie Coleman. Because there are a lot of similarities with the physique, but I don't think it's crazy to say Sean. I haven't seen him, but if he's a little bit bigger and even a little tighter than he was, who knows what could happen with Sean Clarida? Maybe he could win.
You've just said it. If he's bigger and more conditioned, he's gonna be though, because that's what. It's not just because of his physique that people liken him to Ronnie Coleman. It's because that he's a constant progression. This guy is working hard all year round, heavy. I mean, you look at his Instagram. It's the same as it is 9 months out. You can see the intensity, the weight, the exercises, the drive, the look in his eye. It's exactly the same as it is 4 weeks out than it is 10 months out. This guy's working non-stop, year round, constantly hammering his body, constantly improving. Dennis James was sat next to me at the prejudging last year. He had at the prejudging, he had Sean Clarida winning that. So I'd be very, very surprised if he wasn't in top three. And again, if Derek slips his conditioning, then I could see Sean Clarida overtaking Derek and even in Kamal as well. I mean, that's a very, very tight top three,
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to apologize to Ahmad Ashkanani. Why? Because I did the preview for the Olympia. It's out now. The one that's got just an arm on the cover. That's Phil Heath's arm. I completely left Ahmad out of. Yeah, I left him out of the preview. It was not intentional, guys. I don't hate him or anything like that. He just slipped my mind, and it's crazy because he was second place 2 years in a row at his first two Olympias. Second place to Flex Lewis. He's dropped just a little bit. Fifth place. He was in fourth place in 18. He was fifth place last year. He won the New York Pro last year. I think he got a little hate because I was at the New York Pro and I had Eduardo Correa beating him, honestly, at that show. But this guy's still one of the deadliest 212s. He's got a back like a king cobra, his legs from the side, his hands sweep out like a crescent moon, shoulders out to here. He's so wide. He's like a little tank. Needs some more quad sweep. How many times have I said that during this preview? Like 10 times now? Quad sweep, quad sweep. But that's a thing I like to see on physiques because it complements that X frame so well because they all have wide shoulders and backs and little waist theoretically. So when you have the sweeping quads, it just makes that overall picture X frame so much more impressive. But Ahmad Ashkanani, did you forget about him too?
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, I kind of did. Like you said, he's kind of off my radar a little bit. But plus this Angel Calderon's come along, and he's filled that box of the really short, really thick. He's kind of like a more conditioned version of Ashkanani. But Ashkanani's not a guy you can count out. He's super impressive. I mean, he's probably got probably the best ham drop in pro bodybuilding today. Yeah. But he's, like I said, I think more attention has gone to Calderon. He's had 4 pro wins now because he's similar height, similar structure. I think people are just all excited about him now. He's the new super short, super thick tank Jose Raymond type physique, Yeah. So, and he's more conditioned as well, Calderon, than Ashkanani. So, Ashkanani, he's a freak. He's a freak, and like I said, if he's made improvements, then I'm sure he'll hold on to a top 6 spot. If he hasn't, he's going to slip.
Yeah. So Angel Calderon Frias from Spain, man, 10th place last year, but we were both sitting here at the judging, and he wasn't in the first call out. I don't know if he was even in the second call out, but he ended up in 10th place, and we were both kind of scratching our head like, man, this guy's really good. Why aren't they giving this guy a better look? But since that show, since last year's Olympia, he's won four more shows. He's just collecting first place trophies and checks at this point because obviously he doesn't need to keep doing. He's qualified like over and over again. But yeah, I think he's gonna level up this year. I think they're gonna give him a good look and top 5 for sure. I don't see him doing any worse than top 5. Angel.
I've got 4th, 5th in my head.
Yeah, because like you said, man, what is he lacking? He's so thick, so gnarly, so dense. That's bodybuilding.
He's incredible. Like I said, we took Brandon Curry to Spain, and we went to this gym, and they trained legs together. Wow. And I said, Brandon, wait till you finish training. I said, even though the blood's all on his legs, I said, wait when he hits a few poses for you at the end. I said, but just wait. And I filmed it. I filmed Brandon's reaction. Brandon went, holy shit. He wasn't expecting. He said, how is your upper body still so full when you've just trained your legs? Yeah. So yeah, he's a tank. And his conditioning is, I mean, he's probably with Kamal and George Peterson, he's probably going to be one of the best conditioned guys up there.
Okay. Another apology in order. I mess up a lot, don't I? But anyway, in that issue, I neglected to have David Henry in the preview. David, I apologize because you certainly should have been there. He's the only guy in this lineup who's actually been top 10 in the Mr. Olympia. In 2007, he was 10th place in the Open Mr. Olympia, not the 212. There was no 212 yet. He was the first lightweight. It was 202 back then. He was the first lightweight Olympia champion. Second place in 09, 10, 12, and 13. So wow, 4 times runner-up. He's won the show. And he's not losing. I'm not sure how old he is. I want to say he's about 45 at this point. But I saw him requalify because 10th place would not have qualified him. He went and did the Legion Sports Show last year in Long Beach, won that with relative ease. And he's not losing anything. He's still got the fullness, the density. I don't see any stretch marks, any torn muscles, nothing. He's crazy, still crazy good. And I don't know how he only placed 10th last year, but I'd like to see him get a little better look this year than he did last year.
He seems to get a bit of a raw deal. I was surprised he didn't make top 10 last year. He was 11th last year. And I remember it was I'm sure it was 2016, he got 5th, and I had him a clear second to Flex Lewis. I was like, why is this guy getting screwed? I mean, he's really like, especially he's like Phil Heath. He comes out of the night show like shocking. He's so good. And I don't know. I don't know why he's just. I mean, he's requalified. He's won a pro show. So I don't. I mean, there's a guy that I just. To put him out of the top 10. But then again, you know, you could have said that last year. You know, I think is a mistake.
Hey, these are, you know, again, we're talking about the best show in the world. These are the best bodybuilders in the world. So it's very, very competitive, guys. There can be only one, like in Highlander. George Peterson III, the Bull. This will be not his first Olympia, but his first Olympia as a 212 bodybuilder. He was third place 3 years in a row as a classic physique competitor. I hated him as a classic physique competitor, not hated him as a person, but I just felt it was not the right fit for him. I said, this guy, he's 5'8" or 5'9". He needs to fill out and just be a 212 because that's where I believe his potential was. And now Tampa Pro, he comes out as a 212. That was his debut. Nailed it. Could have been a little tighter. I think him and Justin, his coach, were still, it was, you know, every time people put on more size or fill out more, it's a challenge to match the condition, but he wasn't maybe like 1 or 2% off. So everyone's very excited to see how this guy's going to do because this is where we felt he belonged all along. And I'm very curious to see how George does. I mean, he posts a lot. He's a new Redcon athlete. They post a lot for him. He posts a lot on his own channel. So we see what he looks like. Crazy big and full and round. Tiny, tiny waist, some crazy body parts. Obviously, the back is one of the best in the sport today. But I'm curious to see, I'm curious to see how he's going to stack up against guys like Kamal, Derek, Clarita, Angel. You know, these are established veterans. I wonder how he's going to stack up.
Can you believe last year's Classic Olympia, he had to make 191, 192 to make weight? Yeah. He said to me when we had lunch, he said, I was probably 198 by the time I hit the stage. And now this year, he's struggling to make 212. And to be honest, we think he probably wasn't right for Classic. I actually don't, I hate to say this, but I don't think he's right for 212. I think he's just going to spend a year or two in the 212, win a load of shows, you know, do very well at the Olympia. And then I think his destiny at 5'8". I mean, 5'8" is. I know he's a bit of an anomaly with his muscle bellies and the way he weighs. You know, like most 5'8" 212s are way too tall. Like, you know, they're just, you know, it's just really the 212 is, for me, it's 5'5" and under.
Yeah.
And you've got a guy who's 3 inches taller who is looking ridiculously big and armor plated next to these guys 3-4 inches, 5-6 inches shorter than him. How does he look so thickly muscled? I just don't know how he does it. He's just one of those. He's one of those dudes, like I said, those extreme. You know, one comes along once in a while. You know, you think, like, how the hell does that guy make 212? So
bird bones, hollow bones, like a bird.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I'm excited to see him up there. I hope he doesn't spend more than 2 years in the 212 because, like you said, this guy has just continued to grow and improve and improve. He probably, like I said, with Kamal and Angel Calderon, he'll be the hardest guy up there. I can't decide where he's going to place. I think he'll be top 5. I honestly don't think he'll be top 3, but he's got size, he's got condition, and he's got, you know, good symmetry and fantastic shape. So I can't place him until, because I haven't seen him on stages of 212. So like I said, I'm a little bit confused about this one. I mean, if he won, I wouldn't be like shocked. But I think top 5 is where my instincts are telling me he's going to place.
Guess who else I left out of the preview for the magazine?
Who?
John Jewett, who was 4th place last year.
Come on.
I know. I'm the worst, man. So John, I'm sorry. Guys, it's not intentional. It's not that I don't like you. My memory is just not what it used to be. And yeah, I mean, 4th place last year, you got to have him in your preview. And I think he's underrated because he's one of those quiet guys. He doesn't make a lot of noise. He doesn't hype himself up. You don't hear much about him. He just shows up looking great, which is, you know, theoretically that's the only thing that should count anyway. But yeah, I mean, he won the Tampa Pro last year and he showed up at the Olympia. Great condition, very balanced physique, not missing anything. You know, you don't take 4th place in your first Olympia being a slouch. And I think he's still going to be in the running in spite of, we've got some crazy names in the show this year. But I think John's going to be right up there again.
I think 5th to 8th. But I mean, up till a few days ago, you wouldn't have even thought John was even competing because he wasn't posting anything. And then I saw a picture that Renee, his wife, posted today, where he looks amazing. He posted, I think, a front lat spread I got in the last week in my head, and he looks tremendous. Thing is, he's a very, very meticulous guy. He's not a hit and miss guy. He's not a guy who's who's banging in Lasix the night before because he's watery. It's like this guy is going to be ready. He's going to be ready on the day. I guarantee it. And like you said, he's a very under the radar kind of guy. But I mean, fourth place. I was thrilled for him when he got fourth place at the Olympia last year. I was so happy because he was a guy that was kind of like the Atkins and stuff, who was kind of floating on that second level, and then he kind of leveled up because top 5 at the Olympia, that's big time, that's big time. That's the first level. So he's in that A group, I'd like to see him. I think he could, 5th to 7th.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Last two guys, I'm just going to talk about them real quick, and then we're going to move on because I see we've been talking a very long time. Guy Cisternino is a veteran, been up on that stage many, many times. He's been trying to break in the top 5 for a long time. Another guy who's been at this a long time and still his physique is holding up because he's actually not that old. He started out pretty young in the sport. And also Bo Lewis, who won the New York Pro. He's a fairly new pro. He's only done a couple shows, but Bo out of Nashville area, really good. But let's move on to classic physique. So we'll start off with the reigning champion, Chris Bumstead, who last year I was very surprised only because I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought he looked good enough. If they were going to have him beat Breon, I think it could have happened before it did, because to me, Bumstead didn't look much better than he's ever looked, and Breon didn't look much worse than he ever looked. But the judges, for some reason, saw something in Bumstead last year that screamed to them, classic physique Olympia, this is your ideal. And certainly, you can knock, if you judge him as in a pure bodybuilding sense, you can pick him apart in a couple areas. Arms aren't the greatest. Back thickness isn't that great. But overall, structure, shape, flow, aesthetics, it's a beautiful physique. And he comes in nice and full and crisp. And that's how he beat Breon last year. And, I'm looking at the pictures and videos he's been posting. Looks like he's going to be even better this year. He's only 25 years old. Can you believe that? 25 years old.
I keep forgetting how young this guy is. Do you know what? It's only in the last couple of weeks I've been looking at his pictures and videos and actually been impressed and thinking, shit, is he even doing it? He's really grown into the show. He's and the last few pictures I've seen, it's like, holy shit, this guy is he's one of these guys, his composition changes, his body weight doesn't change. He kind of probably does that. His body weight probably goes up and down as he preps. So he's a guy who's just, that's a very healthy, very, very clever way to do it. If you can just kind of slowly change your body composition, rather than having these big extremes of drops in weight and having to bulk up or go skinny to big, it's kind of very impressive. Personally, I think Breon's going to take it this year, mate. I've got a feeling Breon's going to take it back. I think Chris is going to get second, and I think Terrence Gruffin's going to be top 3. I think he's going to be third.
Oh, I wouldn't bet against that for 1 minute, that top 3. Yeah, Breon, I interviewed him last week, and I've been looking at his pictures. He's put on some size. It's kind of a bummer because he can't show all that size. He's going to have to diet some of that muscle off. He's going to have to get rid of it. They do have a couple days between weigh-in. He has time to try to fill it back out again. Okay. But he's another one. I don't see him last. I think this is the last time we're going to see him in Classic, to be honest with you.
Really?
Well, if he wins again. If he doesn't win, if he takes second or third, or whatever, he's not gonna take that. If he doesn't win this, I think he's done in Classic. I think he's going to move on to 212. I really feel that.
So here's a guy who's gone from 212 to Classic back to 212. Because he started off at 212 and he wasn't great, was he? He was not a good 212.
I don't even remember him. I saw him when he was a 212.
Terrible. And then he was
like one of those third call out guys in 212. I think he only did 1 or 2 pro shows. Yeah, he wasn't that good, but the last few years, I should say, he's really that physique has come into something very special. Beautiful, round, full muscle bellies, tiny little waist, crazy quad sweep, ham drop, those peak biceps. It's a stunning physique. It's a hell of a package he brings.
I think there's real hunger. He reminds me of that kind of Ronnie Coleman 2003. In his pictures, he's got that look in his eyes, that hungry lion look. I think Breon's going to be unstoppable this year, because last year's condition was only like 1 or 2% off. But if he can bring that 2017 Olympia, I rember the one of the night show we were sat on the side and stuff, and I wasn't even looking at the screens. I was looking at him on the stage. and obviously they look like, I could see the separation in his hamstrings from like several hundred feet away, and it was like, look at that, looks like somebody's just sliced him with a knife, like Freddy Krueger's just gone like down the back of his arm, you know. I was so impressive. I think he's going to bring that again this year because he's looking really, really dry. Even when he's really flat and his face looks sunken in, you can tell when that guy fills out, he's going to look perfect. I think he's going to take it back this year. I've got a really strong feeling. I think he's really gone out this year, all out this year, because he really wants that title back. I think he's going to beat Chris.
Yeah, I mean, we've said this so many times before, but sometimes getting beat can be the best thing to happen to a bodybuilder because they lights a fire. They come back better than you could have even imagined they could be.
Gunter, Ronnie, 2002, 2003. Jay Cutler, 2008, 2009, when Dexter beat him, they get pissed off. And when you've got someone with that kind of mindset, you don't want to piss them off because they just come back at you 10 times harder.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. Terrence Ruffin, man. Talk about somebody on the rise, R-I-Z-E. So we haven't seen him at the Olympia for 2 years now. He was 9th place there, 6th last time, 2018, 6th in 2017, 9th before in 2016, but very, very close at the Arnold Classic this year between him and Alex Cambronero. I really thought it could have gone either way. I love Terrence's physique. We're not even getting into the posing presentation part of it yet, but because he's on another level from these other guys. But wow. I just wanted to see him fill out a little bit. I think that's what his physique needed. And based on the last couple weeks of pictures and videos, I think he's done that. I think he's filled out a little bit at the same weight because he's already capped out at the weight.
Yeah, the Arnold Classic, he was 0.2 of a pound under. But his physique was so... I mean, for me, if I was writing out the criteria for Classic and you showed me 100 physiques, I would pick Terrence out every single time. For me... I mean, he gets it. He gets the presentation. He gets the class. You know, it's like I said, that's, you know, like you could say, oh, Chris Bumstead, I mean, or Brion. For me, Terrence trumps them all in terms of classic, but whether that will get him ahead of someone like Chris or Brion, I don't know. But I can see him snagging 3rd place here because he was so improved at the Arnold Classic. But I could still see a couple improvements. I think his color could be different. And also, his arms needed to be slightly bigger, but the pictures I've seen recently, the arms are slightly. So for me, he's perfectly balanced now. And he's just like, he's Serge Nubret, and he's basically the modern Serge Nubret.
Yeah. And we won't get into it, but he's the best poser in the sport today. That's it. Drop the mic. Boom. Next guy I want to talk about, it's his debut at this show as in Classic. He's been up there a few times before in men's physique. Is Logan Franklin, who... the first time I saw him as a Classic competitor in Tampa a couple of years ago, I wasn't overly impressed. He still had a lot of filling out to do. And then when I saw him, that was 2018? When I saw him win the New York Pro this year, he had taken things up. He had filled out a lot more. And now he's another guy. He's very good with social media. He does a lot of posting. He's got such a full look to him now. He's tiny little joints and really round, full muscle bellies. Nobody's really been talking about him as a threat for the top 3 or 5. Maybe people have, but I could definitely see him squeaking into the top 5 for sure.
This is where someone like Steve Blackman has a very good eye, because he was raving about Logan a couple of years ago when Logan was doing kind of nothing, and he's like, and Steve said no, he really pushed him and really saw potential in him, you know, and I think. Yeah, Logan is I like that some of the Arnold poses he hits, but with the modern day conditioning, and he's a good looking guy. He's a good representative of the class. And what was his previous placing? Has he been to the Olympia before?
He's been to the Olympia in men's physique. I believe he's been top 5 in the men's physique. This is the first time he's been, this is the first time he's qualified for the Olympias in Classic. So yeah, I'm excited to see him stand next to these guys like Bumstead and Brion and Terrence. Last but not least, we have talked about the Arnold Classic champion, Alex Cambronero, who was a very good 212 competitor. He didn't even have to lose too much weight to make weight for Classic because he was never the thickest guy, but he, you know, his strong point was always his shape, his symmetry, and the flow of his physique. And he brings that still to this division, which is where that's what Classic's supposed to be all about. You know, he was 6th place last year, top 6. So he's got to be in the conversation for somebody who's certainly top 5, top 6 favorite this year.
Alex is one of those guys, I didn't even really notice him at the prejudging at the Olympia last year. And then we saw him at the night show and I was like, holy shit, he looks amazing. How did I miss this guy? I mean, you're scanning a lineup, you see the standouts. He didn't stand out to me. I don't know why. I have no idea why. I have no clue. But won the Arnold Classic, beat Terence Ruffin, who's looking his best ever. So there's a guy you can't count out. I mean, I'd be very surprised if he wasn't top 6. I don't think he'll be top 3. I think Terence will step up. I think Terence will get revenge on him. But he's very, very good, and he's going to be very well conditioned because Neil Hill's prepping him.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and he trains. He gets up to the Dragon's Lair, I think, once a week and trains with those guys. He's part of that crew.
Nice.
Men's physique. I'm just going to read off last year's top 6 because it's probably going to be very, very similar this year. So the reigning champ is Raymond Edmonds, looking to repeat. We have Andre Ferguson, who's been second place here, and he was 3 times Arnold champ. I think he won it again this year, didn't he? Kyron Holden coming back. He was the 2018 Olympia champion in men's physique. Brandon Hendrickson, who's been runner-up here. Ryan Terry out of the UK, very, very serious competitor. And Boston's own, by way of Brazil, Carlos Keke de Oliveira. Yeah.
Did you see how Carlos looked at that Brazilian show he won the other week?
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you want to put Terence Ruffin as a poster boy for classic, he is a poster boy for bloody men's physique. I mean, it's just like he looks like he's been drawn as like a cartoon character for the criteria, like a computer generated image of what they want. I mean, to be honest, even at the Olympia last year, I think he was 5th place last year. For me, he was a standout.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls off a win here. I wouldn't, not for a minute. I remember kind of being a hater because when this guy turned pro, because I'm in Boston, and we knew how long he'd been training. When he turned pro, he'd been training for like less than a year. He's just the genetics. He just responded so well to it. And I was like, I'm one of those old crusty people like, you need to train for 1,000 years before you should win anything.
Yeah.
And, but man, I got to give this kid credit. Carlos Keke. He is a poster boy. He's got such a beautiful physique. And,
very good.
If you want to talk about a dark horse, I would not be surprised if he wins this year, but these guys are everybody we just mentioned, Raymond, Andre, Kyron, Brandon, Ryan, they're all phenomenal.
I like Brandon Hendrickson's physique. I really like his physique, but and also Raymond Edmonds. I had him on Global. He's a cool guy. He's a really funny guy, and his face is looking so sunken in. I'm not even sure that it looks. Yeah, he looks incredible. He's full chest, and he's quite a funny guy, interesting. But he's obviously looking to retain his title. But those top 5, top 6, all those guys you've mentioned there, I think unless one of them slips up or someone really good comes along new, you pretty much think that's going to be the top 6. It's like Bikini; it's the same kind of top 6, for several years.
Right. And the Buff Bombshells, we'll be talking about Bikini, I'm sure. Don't worry, guys. So, guys, everybody, I want you to know that even though Giles is not going to be there physically, he will be with us in spirit and commentating on the play-by-play. He's going to get the pay-per-view, which I encourage all of you guys, because I know you all can't get to Orlando. I think capacity is only 2,500 due to social distancing and everything anyway. So go to olympiaproductions.com. It's $59.95, and that covers like 4 or 5 days. It's the Amateur Olympia judging and finals, the Olympia every single division judging and finals, plus backstage interviews. The pay-per-view, Jake Wood and Dan Solomon and the whole team, they're going out of their way to make this the greatest pay-per-view, the greatest production streaming that you've ever seen for Olympia. So, please get that. Support the show because Jake Wood is not making a killing on this show. Trust me, this year. He kept the prize money the same for all the athletes, didn't reduce it 1 penny. I mean, come on, guys.
Ron, do you? I mean, obviously, let's not say the figure, but do you know what he paid for the Olympia and all the muscle and fitness and flex and everything? Do you know what he paid for him?
I mean, I remember the figure you told me. I don't know. We're not going to say it, right?
Yeah, that's so you just. I think if we know that, I think then we can kind of convey how important it is to support this Olympia because you know what they could have gone. Do you know what, guys? This is a multi-million-dollar, venture event. Really, if we're going to be losing, it's not a case of us breaking even. If we lose, we could be losing like hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s after purchasing something that really is a big amount of money. So I really, really hope that people support this because I think this is going to be probably one of the most exciting Olympias for so many different reasons. Yeah. I mean, the 212, even the ladies' fitness, the open. I mean, there's so many reasons to be watching this Olympia. And also, I spoke to Dan a few months ago spoke to him about the live stream back in March, just around the pandemic before it was really, really starting to hit. and he was saying about how the kind of effort that he was going to go into to make sure the live stream was filmed and streamed to a really, really, really high level that the fans are going to love.
Yeah, that's important. So guys, yeah, please support the show, support the Olympia, give back, because this has been, it would have been so easy for Jake to just write this off and say, sorry guys, we'll see you next year. We'll do the Olympia next year. We're just going to skip it this year, but he didn't. And you know, he's a super fan of the sport. He's not just a businessman who cares about the dollars and cents. He cares about the athletes. He wanted everyone to get over here. They've been helping athletes get visas. I mean, they've been bending over backwards for this show to make it something great.
Big respect.
Yeah. So that's it, guys. Our coverage begins. The press conference Thursday. Yeah, I think that's when it's begun. Yeah, Thursday. We'll be in Orlando. I keep wanting to say Las Vegas, but it's Orlando. I'll be there with Hector Mendoza behind the camera. Big Mike Cox is going to be working with me. Milo Starshev is going to be working with me on some wrap-ups. Yeah, Mishko. So play-by-play is going to be going, guys. Giles will be on that. I'll be on that. Mike's going to be on that. It's going to be a good time. So head over to musculardevelopment.com, and, of course, the YouTube channel. We'll be uploading all the interviews and different things that we get like that. So, wow, Giles, look at that. We've been talking a long time. Well, this is the biggest show of the year. This is it. We didn't even talk about the women. The Buff Bombshells are going to do that video. That's going to be out tomorrow with Lauren and Emma breaking down all the women's divisions. So, Giles, thank you so much for taking the time. It's late over there. I'm adding 5 to the time I'm looking at. It's getting, and you've been working nonstop for a few days, so I appreciate you doing this, bro.
All right, mate. Well, I've only had 2 meals today, so I'm actually starting to feel a bit busy.
No, don't tell me that. I cringe when I hear that. I'd rather hear that you missed a workout than a meal. Missing meals makes me just, anyway.
If it makes you feel better, because I've done this tonight and we went a bit later, I've missed my workout tonight as well. So I hope you feel guilty.
Well, I do feel guilty. Well, if you didn't have the meals anyway, it would have been a shit workout. Let's be real. So.
Good point. Yeah, well, I'm going to fill up on wine and chocolate now and watch Netflix. Buddy.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Thanks for watching this 2020 Olympia preview. We're going to have all the coverage brought to you by High Tech starting this Thursday, because this is going to air on. It's hard trying to stay ahead of time when these things post, but just check it all out. And thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you then.